This is an Ice Guys Patreon exclusive.
Welcome to another Ice Guys team season preview video. 32 teams in 32 days. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith talking Carolina Hurricanes. And joining us is a guest that knows this team inside and out very well. He's right there in the heart of it all in Raleigh, North Kakalaki. David joining us here to help us out with the Carolina Hurricanes season preview. David, thanks for joining us. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
And it's also great to have Royal Cannabis with us as the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. And they are from right there in Randleman, North Carolina. And Alex, like I said, we're excited to have them partnering up with us.
Yes, absolutely. Our new smoke sponsors, just a little small group right out of the Randleman, North Carolina. You can check out. They have a brick and mortar store located at 5614 Randleman Road in Randleman, North Carolina, 27317. They are open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. They have a large selection of exotic flower. They have budget selections as well, discounted products, weekly sales, and with any order of $50 or more, you have a chance to shoot on the mini hoop to win a free eighth as well. Must be 21 years of age, have a valid ID to purchase items. Definitely check that out. Royal Cannabis, based right there in Randleman, North Carolina.
Check them out, Randleman, North Carolina. Royal Cannabis, glad to have them on board as the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. And you can check out what they're all about right now. And then we'll be right back in a moment with some Carolina Hurricanes season preview discussion.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Check them out, 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at royalcannabisshop.com. All right, Carolina Hurricanes. First, before we get into the team, let's talk to David a little bit about being there in Raleigh, North Carolina, getting into hockey, getting into being a Carolina Hurricanes fan. I want to ask him about that. I want to ask him, obviously, he's probably been to a bunch of games there at PNC. Or whatever they're calling it now. Lenovo Center, I think, is actually what they're calling it now in Raleigh. But I'm sure he's been to a bunch of games. I know they have a kind of a football tailgate thing going on in the parking lot with a lot of the fans that go to the home games. So I think it's cool. People say, hey, isn't that a football? I think it's cool. That's a bunch
I think it's great, too.
People ridiculing people in North Carolina for doing that. That's great. What's better than fucking boozing it up and cooking steaks and burgers and hot dogs and sausage on the grill, getting ready for a big hockey game? I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah. When you're a state that does barbecue well, like North Carolina, there's never a bad time to go outside and cook.
There's so much.
No doubt. So, David, talk about growing up as a Canes fan, getting into hockey, and being at the arena, and the excitement level, and how the locals have really embraced the team and the sport.
Right. I grew up in Raleigh. So I've been going to Canes fan since I was barely out of the womb. So it's changed a lot. It really is. I mean, back when the Canes started here, there was nothing. I mean, Raleigh's tripled in size since it was even like that. And obviously the team's success has changed a lot with that. Been to every game last year, every playoff game since we started this run. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of not fun, but I mean, it's the only team we really have here, so everybody feeds into the atmosphere. You can see it during all the games, every single stoppage. I mean, it's just a really exciting atmosphere.
Especially at playoff time. They take it up a notch.
It's chaos.
Yeah, they do. I love the home crowds there, the environment. Yeah. And like I said, they're a louder playoff building than Toronto, for crying out loud. And
certainly.
To me, there's not much argument there. Yeah, go ahead.
It helps when you're tailgating for 5 hours before the games. It gives a little bit of everybody a little more juice.
Yeah, it does. Right. Yeah. You get some great barbecue food and booze in your system, and you're ready to go for puck drop.
Pretty I'm part of that.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
Talk about the betting side of things, because the reason we invited you on the show too is you're a full-time sports bettor. How's that been going? And is there anything you want to promote, hype up, mention about your own betting stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, David C. Betts. Hockey is my primary. So I've turned to 5 to 6 to 7% ROI the last few years, betting almost every single game, and yeah, it's gone really well.
Very good. We like to hear that. Well, you're talking to well, not just me and Alex. We're talking about our extended family. All the
Yeah.
people we have on this show contributing as guests, all our viewers and listeners. Like, there's a ton of successful NHL bettors in that group too. Like, we feel we've got just a collective, incredible community of hockey
Yeah.
minds, betting minds, and we all come together and work together. And it's evident on the live betcasts that we do during the season. Here we are, we're all throwing out, hey, this might be a good time to jump in live on a over or this team down by a goal, in the third
Right.
period. That
Oh
kind
yeah,
of thing.
you can feel the momentum and all that stuff. It's very the live stuff helps a ton.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about almost betting every game on the board, look no further than this man over here, Ian Cameron. He was definitely hammering the board.
King himself. Yeah, yours
Yeah.
truly, Ian Cameron.
When you got an edge, you got an edge.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody knows about making 10 bets on one game than me.
That's
Watch
right.
them all.
There you go. Between sides, totals, and player props. Yeah. No question. But yeah, David, we'll have to have you on the betcast. You'd enjoy them.
Oh, I love it.
It's a good time to remind everybody too. No surprise, our first live betcast of the season will be the Frozen Frenzy that Tuesday, where every team's in action, games around the clock. I know that was our first betcast last year, so we are excited about that. We're also excited to talk about this Carolina Hurricanes team, and we'll get into that now. Obviously, look, great season last year. They ended up with 99 points last year. This team, a pretty good season overall. Obviously, Washington ran away with the Metro Division, but Carolina with their 99 points in the regular season. But it was what they did in the playoffs that was very impressive. The first and second round victories that they were able to achieve. I guess there was some of that sentiment when they played Washington, that Washington's been living a charmed life this season for as great a season as they've had. There were some questions about, the regression monster getting to them and whether that team was going to be the type of team that could have success in the playoffs. And I knew they'd be up against it against a good team like Carolina, but I didn't expect Carolina to have just the kind of control over in that series that they had. They really did have firm control of that. So it never felt like Washington was a big time threat in that series to Carolina with the way it went. But of course, Carolina, like every other team in the East in the NHL these last couple of seasons, could not get past the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Final. And obviously for Carolina, they're now in that stage of their run right now, their window, if you will, to win a Stanley Cup, where it's cup or bust, or at the very least get to a Stanley Cup final. If you're the Carolina Hurricanes, that's what the expectation is here for Rod Brindamore's team this season. When you look at them up front, we'll start there. Nikolai Ehlers a great get, obviously, in the offseason. It kind of felt like him and Carolina were meant to be. Nikolai Ehlers wanted out of the hot stove that is Winnipeg, and all the pressure that comes with playing in the Canadian market. He wanted to go somewhere a little off the grid, but still go somewhere where he could contend and battle for a Stanley Cup. And he found that spot with the Carolina Hurricanes as Eric Tulsky brings him in for the big free agent signing that they got. And the thought and the anticipation of pairing him with a Sebastian Aho and the little engine that could, Seth Jarvis, on that top line really brings you just great, expectation and excitement about what could be for maybe that trio together for Carolina. You like the fact that Andrei Svechnikov kind of came out of his slumber a little bit down the stretch and into the postseason as well. Jackson Blake has certainly shown sniper potential and being the chance to be a consistent goal scorer, at the NHL level. From what we saw last season. Logan Stankoven fit in beautifully with this team. One of their absolute best forwards, I thought, in the Stanley Cup playoff run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. No question he fit in well. Don't worry about his size. He plays bigger than his size. He's shown that, obviously, not just with Dallas previously, but in his time here with Carolina. The captain, Jordan Staal, Jordan Martinook, who always seems to be one of these guys where in the regular season he just flies under the radar, does his business, and then you notice him more in the playoffs, it seems, every year. Jordan Martinook, and a third line that can contribute. I like their forward group. I really do. You bring in Ehlers. I'm not a big Kotkaniemi fan. That's probably the only negative. We need to see a lot more from him. That's for damn sure. That's the one misstep they've made over the last few years was, buying on Jesperi Kotkaniemi. They've not gotten the returns that they wanted for him. But the rest of the forward group, I mean, when you've got a guy like Taylor Hall that could be starting the season on a fourth line, you know, that's a pretty deep forward group, and all things considered. And then the streaky Mark Jankowski, who, David, you may not know this, is from my hometown.
Oh, yeah.
Dundas,
I did not know that,
area.
but I love him. He's an analytical. I don't know if you've seen my tweets. He is an analytical darling, and he always has been, even on the Preds.
No doubt. And like I say, can chip in offensively, and I always hope for the best for him, Mark Jankowski. I like their forward group quite a bit. The blue line, now we know, obviously, Brett Pesce, prior to last year, losing him was a big deal, obviously. And I thought for sure last year it would degrade them a little bit defensively. They've always been a great defensive blue line, no question about it. But I thought they'd take a little step back, but they were still very good as far as goal prevention, you know, for most of last season. Jacob Slavin, I just run out of words to say how good this fucking guy is. I mean, holy shit. I mean, this guy has just been unbelievable. Shot blocking machine, obviously always in good position, doesn't really make too many mistakes, doesn't take too many penalties either. I mean, he's just been a workhorse, warhorse. He'll play through injury. He'll play 30 minutes if need be. Ice time magnet, if you will, if they need him out there longer. He's just been absolutely sensational for this team. I thought Jalen Chatfield's been a good Hurricane after being bounced around a few places before that. Sean Walker. I know Alex has some thoughts on Keandre Miller, who they got from the New York Rangers, saying that they're buying low on him, and don't be surprised if he bounces back in Carolina with this blue line this season. And then, of course, Gostisbehere and Alexander Nikishin, who I am hopeful Rod Brindamore after look, and I'm not going to be the one to say that Rod doesn't know what he's doing, and I think he's been done a great job for the most part here in Carolina. But I've got to criticize him. And we were on this show, Alex, last year talking about this. Why are we throwing out Scott Morrow all the time in that playoff series, in that Florida series? That bothered me. I didn't like that, especially when we saw a little glimpse of Nikishin against Washington, and the shot, the playmaking, the skating, the ability to quarterback a power play, the ability to not make these puck blunders with turnovers and defensive zone gaffes that we were seeing from Scott Morrow, and yet he was kind of favoring Scott Morrow over Nikishin for the longest time in that. And I think it hurt them, especially early in that Florida series. I think it really did. And I don't want to say they lost the series because of that, but I think it was part of the reason for it for sure. But I'm just hoping Nikishin is a regular this year on that blue line, and I think he will be. And then in net, we've been very critical of Freddie Anderson. It's because of the injuries. It's because of the inconsistency. It's because of, obviously, the Ranger series bothered me in that third period a couple of years ago. It's like he kind of pissed down his leg in the third period of that Ranger series. I remember that. It's like, oh my gosh, what a horrible third period to end the series like that against the Rangers. That being said, you can't throw last year's playoff run at Freddie. Freddie played very well.
Oh yeah, he was dominant.
Very well. He was healthy, obviously. It was just, look, they were beaten by a better team. They shut him down for the most part, Florida defensively. Bobrovsky was outstanding. Special teams was a difference. Florida was just better in that regard. Like I said, Freddie Anderson played well enough. It's just they ran up against the Florida Panthers, and they've certainly got depth. Pyotr Kochetkov, Miftakov, we're going to have to see what he's going to be able to bring. He's on this. He'll be getting a good long look at training camp as well. So they definitely have organizational depth with their goaltending as well. I like Carolina a lot. It's just a question of when you look at their point total here this season, are you going to want to bet over a high number like 107.5 when this team had 99 points last year? That's a big jump that the odds makers are expecting them to make in the regular season. So, but I wouldn't be rushing to bet them under. I think they're going to have a really good regular season. I like what they got up front. A very good blue line as always. And like I said, goaltending, they certainly have their depth. So I like Carolina quite a bit. I'm not betting the point total either way, but like I said, I do expect them to have a very good regular season. It's just a question of that playoffs and getting over that final hurdle. Alex, we'll start with you on this one. What do you think for the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yeah, as far as a futures bet goes, there's really not much that I like here, but it's in a good vein. This is a team that I definitely like, and I think there might be some value to buy even lower after they get through the early stretch of the season. This is the first 10 games for Carolina. Home against New Jersey, home against Philadelphia, then you go on the road for 6 games. San Jose, Anaheim, LA, Vegas, Colorado, Dallas, before coming back home against Vegas and then a home game against the New York Islanders. That's a really tough stretch, and it wouldn't shock me one bit that they go, say, 5-4-1, or maybe a 6-4. We could see that kind of a stretch, and maybe we see a little bit of that number inflate where now you're seeing 8-1s, 10-1s, 12-1s on them to win the cup, and that maybe expands just a little bit, and you may be able to buy a little bit with a better price on looking at anything, whether it's winning the division, winning the East, or winning the cup. So that's the kind of approach I'm taking from a betting point of view. Top to bottom, this lineup looks fantastic until you get to the back end and start talking about the goaltending. That's always been the biggest question mark with this group, and it's even bigger than ever, really, because how long can you continue to roll with Frederik Andersen when it's damn near a given he's going to miss some time with an injury? Like we say it on this program often: death, taxes, and Frederik Andersen getting hurt, things that you can rely on. And now seeing Pyotr Kochetkov getting the bulk of the starts last year, but looking shaky at times in those extended runs, it doesn't seem like the plan that seemed to be kind of showing itself from 2-3 years ago, where, okay, you roll with Andersen as long as you can. If he doesn't provide anything, Kochetkov's the goalie of the future. Now that seems to be up in the air. And if both those guys go down, you don't really have much depth down in the HL level. Caden Primo's a guy who got pretty much bounced out of the situation in Montreal because every other goalie in that organization started playing better. Even Luke Kavalin in the East Coast League went on a hot enough run to where they were able to show Primo the door. So it just seems to be the same old question of who's going to step up and deliver long term within the season, and then take the reins and move that next level in the postseason between the pipes for Carolina.
No question, and I'm fascinated in a moment to hear what David's got to say about the goaltending situation. And here's where I'll just explain where we've been at for years. We've been begging Rod Brind'Amour to say, you know what, Rod, Freddie's been has had a nice career. He's been a great regular season goaltender. I don't think he's played his best at times in the playoffs. Now, last year was a little bit different. I think he played better last year in the playoffs, but still, it's like, Rod, and he's going to get hurt at some point. Let's pass the baton to Pyotr Kochetkov. Let's do it. He's more of the future in net, in our opinion, for Carolina. But here's what we didn't see happening. We didn't see the inconsistency that we saw from Kochetkov last year. All of a sudden, whoa, he's looking a little unsteady all of a sudden. And we love this guy coming up. We said this guy's got the ability to be a great number one goaltender. And then we saw the inconsistency in his game. And I think Rod kind of shied away when he started to see just how up and down Kochetkov was at times last year, that he said, you know what? Damn it, I got to run it back with Freddie again. And I got to stick with him as my guy, because maybe Kochetkov's not ready quite yet to be the guy and the guy we roll with in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But where do you stand on that, and what are your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes this year?
Yeah, so in net, I've always been a Freddie guy. He's analytically, I know his analytics probably get helped a little bit with Slavin jumping in front of shots and making closing down a lot of the shooting angles. So his numbers look a little better than they really are. But Kochetkov's he's had his chances to show that he's going to be the guy. I think he's a little too aggressive in net. I mean, you look at the best goalies in the league. What do? They stay in the net, and they pretty much just lock down a bunch of tips and misdirections and stuff like that. Kochetkov he just flies out.
Happy feet in the crease.
Yeah, happy feet.
A little
it
bit
causes
of that.
too much. It's a little bit too much inconsistencies. I think the team's a little lower on him now too. And I could see him kind of getting moved sometime during the season. I would not be surprised at all. But I think Freddie, I think he's the guy. I mean, efficiency wise, he's only making $2.7 million a year. For the numbers he's putting up, I mean, we still got 11 million in cap. So if we're gonna have that to spend at the trade deadline, I feel like he's the guy that you got to keep riding with.
Get it from that the way you phrased it. I get it. Why you'd want to stick with Frederik Andersen? Like I said, we're all ready to see, and I was excited. And then Pyotr got an extended opportunity, David, down the stretch last year, and I'm like, holy shit, he kind of fumbled that opportunity
with Scott Morrow, which don't get me started on that one. That was I don't know if you saw my post about that. Those were some of the worst performances I've ever seen. Which you kind of threw him into a fire with that against coming into such tough series, but it was a tough performance, and I would argue that it really just lost us the first game, and it just all went downhill from that.
Now, David, you mentioned the ace in the hole, the $10 million in cap space, and we talk about this goaltending situation. Should these guys be able to keep Carolina afloat the way we've normally seen in the regular season? You get to the trade deadline point, you could maybe decide, hey, Kochekov's not our guy. There's a year left. Let's ship him to a team that's looking to maybe, return him into a project, and we get somebody back who can help us now. You can maybe even move Frederick Anderson. He's a veteran guy who's on an expiring contract to be a backup and get somebody else in now. So you have some wiggle room to maybe make a splash deal. You'd rather not do that when you're talking about a number one goalie heading into a postseason. But having that much cap space available and having the flexibility with the goalies that you have, you could get somebody that you end up, being able to sign long term down the road and have your number one goalie rather than waiting on developing.
Yeah, I think we're looking at somebody like Swayman with a rebuilding team. Maybe if we can ship Kochekov there and get something. I mean, it would make a lot of sense, but I don't know. It's very interesting. I think everywhere else, the only other hole that you can imagine is KK on the second line. But I mean, you have that cap space to be able to.
That's
move
like the only problem I have
him.
with them up front, David. Too, is that Kotkaniemi might be in the second line center, it's the only problem I've got with that. I think the forward group's just absolutely outstanding. Other than that, but man, is it a big eyesore that he might be the second line center to begin the season for Carolina? Oh, I don't like that.
It's a tough watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. You like the forwards? How about this D? You like them?
Oh yeah, the D core. I mean, it's looking better than ever. I mean, you're gonna have Slavin finally not having to play both roles for Brent Burns. No offense to him, but by the end of that regular season, it was looking pretty bad for him. I mean, he showed up in the playoffs. I mean, he turned back the clock for a good few games, but that second half of the regular season, which it was a tough showing for him. I'm sure it's going to be a little easier on him now, probably moving with Chatfield on the right side, and then the second line likely going to have Miller paired with Walker.
Yep, that's looking like what it's going to be. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's very exciting. Orlov was a liability on the defensive end.
I agree with that. Orlov hasn't been great in the last couple of years, especially at playoff time. Has not been great. No,
a lot of mistakes, and there weren't a lot of positives, not enough at least to be able to counteract all the just up and down play that he would have.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, we always hear this debate with the Norris Trophy about, it's not really the true defensive trophy. They always tend to give it to a guy with the most points or who has a better offensive showing than defensive showing. But I would maybe look at taking a little bit of a flyer on K-Andre Miller to win the Norris Trophy because of the fact I think he's going to have a monster run. I think he's just going to have a good run overall with this new contract and new time in Carolina. I think he's going to fit them well. I could see him really having that breakout year that we were looking for him to have in New York.
The handcuffs might be off him too, getting out of the shit show that it was the New York Rangers last year.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he may be a guy who that could see really benefiting the most out of anyone who's changed their scenery, and that may be a market worth countering. I think we could get I'm trying to just kind of scrolling down to see. We might be able to get some really extreme value on him to win with the Norris this year.
And he'll have some help on the other side of things.
Yeah.
So that should be a good side.
I've seen 500 to 1 at BetMGM.
Very interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I know Walker's one of the fastest D-men in the league.
Yeah. So, great skater.
So he's a great skater. So he'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah. Like I said, the blue line, the blue line's fine. There's no doubt. And the great thing too is when you look at the fact that if, let's say, one of the top 6 gets injured, there's Mike Riley and Oliver Shillington waiting in the wings. These are guys that have played a lot of hockey, played a lot of games at the NHL level on the blue line for other teams. And now these are going to be the guys that you can put in there if one of your 6 goes down for an extended period of time due to injury. That's a great luxury to have. If you're Rod Brindamore and the coaching staff, that, hey, let's say, Keandre Miller goes down or Sean Walker goes down, Chatfield, Gostisbehere. You hope Slavin's the one guy that goes down. That'd be damn hard to replace.
Oh yeah, no, I won't talk. That's the end of things. It's all over after that. I'd argue he's our most important player, has been for 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt. But if you lose one of your other non-Slavin defensemen, a Riley and a Shillington can come in there and do the job for a little bit. And they've played a lot of games at the NHL level. That is a good thing to have on your side for sure. David, was there anything preseason props or futures that you were interested in involving your team, Carolina, or are you kind of like us, kind of on the fence and just wait and see approach?
No, I got a few that I love. Obviously, I'm not quite biased. I love betting against us and on us, but for the Metro, instead of approaching it with the point total, I would approach winning the Metro. I mean, the Capitals are not going to have the same season they had. It was just complete. They really lucked into a lot of wins. Well, they got outstanding goaltending. They just aren't. I don't think they're built for that again. I guess Ovechkin. It was a fun build-up. They could focus on not really winning the games because it was such an exciting build-up into his breaking the goal record. But I just can't see it again. You got Devils, who there's a lot of question marks up there. I mean, I don't know. You lose Burns, who was in the late season. He lost us a lot of games, and you lose the Orlov liability, and you still got a lot more cap space. This team could be a lot better by the second half of the season, and I don't see how anybody else contends in the division.
Yeah, that division, and I do think New Jersey's going to be a lot better, but I don't know if they're win the division ready to win the division type of better. New Jersey this year, and you're right. I think there's definitely, and I bet Washington a lot last year and liked a lot of what I saw, but I am a little bit. There's a lot of underlying factors with Washington, which we'll get into when we talk the Capitals preview. That have me a little concerned about whether they're going to be able to come close to what they were able to accomplish last year. And you're right, there's still a lot of questions with Rangers and Islanders and the Pennsylvania teams in that division. So yeah, it's Carolina to win the Metro. I do think they win this division. I do.
This division's always competitive, but where a few years ago we could say this was the best division in hockey, it's actually kind of the worst division in hockey. But Carolina is certainly the best team of the worst of it because of, and they're compacted, like I said, there's just so many question marks and variables, and you could make a case for any of the other teams outside of Carolina to finish 2 through 7, 2 through 8. So when you had that kind of a bit of variance, but none of them really seemed to be better than Carolina, that's a good spot for the Canes to be in.
Yeah, I think if the Canes come anywhere to cashing the over in the point total, I think that's the division locked up already. So I would take that. I think it's around plus 130, plus 140. I mean, they're going to at least be around the 100-point mark. I would assume higher. I haven't projected around 108, 109, but
yeah, they're plus 120 to win the Metro at FanDuel right now, but shop around. I do think there's a little bit better price at some of the other books, but yeah, you're still getting plus money on Carolina to win the Metro. And I definitely think, and look, you're a great point that Alex made too. The Metro division, you're right. New Jersey fell off last year. Rangers fell off last year. The Islanders have gone to mediocrity, didn't make the playoffs. Pittsburgh's just totally not the same team they were in the prime of Crosby and Malkin era. Philadelphia is still in the middle of a rebuild. So that's the Metro division right there in a nutshell. It was really Washington and Carolina were the two really good teams from that division last year, and everything else was hodgepodge and mediocrity. And that's why the quality of the division, top to bottom, has fallen. The quality of this video has not fallen, though. We thank, obviously, everyone for tuning in. Before we wrap it up with this Carolina Hurricanes preview video, one more word from our brand new sponsors located right there in North Carolina, our friends at Royal Cannabis.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
Check them out, royalcannabisshop.com, 20% off using the promo code ICEGUYS. David, we appreciate you helping us out here with the Carolina Hurricanes season preview. Thanks for joining us. And like I said, it's going to be a fun season watching Carolina Hurricanes hockey. Again, This team's going to be very good, and it's going to be really all about getting over that last hump and the last hurdle, if you will, in the Stanley Cup. And maybe, just maybe, Florida Panthers, something happens, they get picked off, and maybe you can avoid them on the route to maybe a Stanley Cup final.
All right, I think we make it to the Cup, and then I just have the worst feeling that you run into the Oilers after back-to-back Cup losses, and then a little 0-6 rematch.
There you go, which it would be if it's Carolina Edmonton. You're right. And it would be exactly 20 years because 2026 is when the Stanley Cup final is. It would be a 20th anniversary of Edmonton, Carolina. Are we going to get a redo? Stay tuned to find out. Great stuff. For Alex B. Smith and for our guest, David C., I'm Ian Cameron. This has been your Carolina Hurricanes season preview video as 32 teams in 32 days rolls along, courtesy of the Ice Guys.